Hello, friends. This is Brandon K. Hedgepeth, and I want to welcome you all here to the Tansson Talks show. I'm so excited to speak with you all. So this is just the second episode of Tansson Talks, but I wanted to take a moment first to sort of welcome you all to the show. We're still here to bring people together, but just with a new name, new show, but I'm excited to have you all here. But let me go ahead and invite you all to this conversation. So right now I'm getting ready to speak with my amazing guest, who is a student in exercise science, a piano player turned music maker, and also a personal trainer. Please welcome Isaac Avis. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello, everyone. Oh, thank you, Brandon, for inviting me. It's just a great opportunity. I'm so excited to talk. This is my first podcast, so this will be great, a great experience, and I can't wait to get forward to it.
Hopefully just the first of many for you.
Yes, hopefully. These are fun.
Yeah, and so first of all, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good. I woke up, I ate breakfast, and then had to clean the room. That took a little bit of time, but now we're here. The morning's rolling.
Well, that is awesome. Glad to hear that you're already having a productive day thus far.
Yes.
Yeah, so I want to go ahead and first of all allow a moment for you to go ahead and introduce yourself for those who are watching or listening to today's episode.
Okay, well, as you said, I'm Isaac, and I go by Vortec as well on a lot of my social media platforms. I do music. I do electronic music, EDM. I'm working towards color bass and other, melodic bass elements. But I also do, besides music, I also do lifting. My personal trainer at ODU, and I'm currently under the major of exercise science, and I really want to get in that DPT program that's over there. It's highly competitive, but I definitely know I can do it, and I'm definitely going to put my all in everything that I do.
Well, awesome. Well, I'm just so glad that, like I said, you're willing to be here, and I just really can't wait to get into this.
Yes, same.
Yeah, so first of all, since you mentioned the program that you're trying to get into, are you able to explain a little bit more as to what that is?
Okay, so the program itself, it's a physical therapy program, the Department of Physical Therapy over at ODU, and they're extremely competitive, even in the state actually. So I think I believe it's the top ranked in the state. It's one of the main reasons why I chose to stay at home, because I've lived in this area for a while. It's one of the reasons I chose to stay at home and go to ODU, just so I can get focus and get into that program, because it's harder to get into that program from other schools, as what I hear. But it's still possible. 3.5, 3.7 GPA is where I want to be. 3.5s are looked at, I hear, but not all of them get in. So as you can tell, I'm pretty academically focused as well as musically focused and everything else.
Well, I'm glad to hear it, and it sounds like you're definitely well versed in all of the qualifications to get into the program.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, and so backtracking a little, so right before we were speaking, you were telling me that you had played piano for like practically majority of your life.
Yes, I have. So it's funny. When I believe I was like 4, right? My parents bought me like this little red toy piano for Christmas, and I learned how to play on that. And there was one time where we actually did buy a piano. And it's actually still downstairs. It's old as can be, out of tune as can be. But I first sat down and played it. My parents were like, "All right, we're gonna put you into piano lessons." And ever since then, growing up in elementary school, every Wednesday night was a piano lesson, and I would just kind of practice throughout the times. I don't know. I mean, if anyone's listening that went to St. Gregory's with me, the one time, the talent show with Charlie Brown, where I stood up with that old fedora in like 4th grade and I played Linus and Lucy in front of like the whole school. That was, I will say, that was one of the first moments where I was like, okay, music's definitely going to be 100% part of my life, just because, I mean, the joy it gave people, I fell in love with it, and the joy it gave me as well. So then I moved on, into more of a classical, or I at least tried to. I never got past the classically trained. And shout out Mr. Nathan Tran, because that man is the best classically trained pianist I know of to this day. I cannot for the life of me play things from the sheet music that look really complicated, but I can make things that are very complicated. It's a strange world. Um, and that's where I really kind of took that side of things, where I realized that I couldn't really follow the classical form. I followed kind of my own creative form, and that's how we are here today.
Well, that is so cool. And I like when you said that for the talent show that you did Linus and Lucy. That's one of my favorite songs. So that's pretty cool. And for anyone who's listening, I guess that would have remembered that time for you. I mean, that must be like so cool to sort of reminisce about that.
Yeah, I gotta send you the old picture. It's pretty hard to kind of see, but I have like one singular picture where it's like little me standing behind the piano with like a funny fedora on, just playing Linus and Lucy. It's so funny.
Well, if you're able to find it, I would love to see that. Yeah, and so I like that you said that you were able to sort of take your initial lessons and use that to sort of help define who you are as a music maker later, later on. And so when do you think that you started doing that, the transition into, just playing the sheet music, knowing the music to starting to be like, hey, I can do some of my own stuff and play around with it?
So I know exactly when this was. This was sixth grade, where my piano teacher, Miss Cynthia, at the time, and I mean, she was just the most wonderful person, and I have to give like all credit to her, because I wouldn't be able to play the piano as well as I do without her. Um, so in sixth grade, I think I decided to, or she gave me a task, right? Because she noticed I like to play weird things, and I used to come into class, right, where I would show her, I'd be like, hey, look what I made. It would either be really weird, really garbage, or actually really good. So she tasked me to create my own song, right? She taught me how to write music at first, because that's where I first started writing things on paper. I wasn't very good at it at first, but I still got, the notes and the setting. And I would bring it back to class the next week and show it to her, and she'd help me kind of organize it. And then she'd be like, okay, play it. And that was where the thing that was weird, though, because what would happen is I would try to play it, but I would play it differently from the thing I just wrote down. And that's where I went, why do I do that, right? And she's just like, well, I don't know. You have a creative mind, but you need to understand that you need to play what you write. Otherwise, what are you gonna do, right? And that kind of changed the whole thing. I was like, okay. So I took a year and I really studied, theory. Still not a master at it, but at least I studied some theory, so that when I do create music, I understand how to play it live. I understand how to, interpret it live. I can now bring people through, especially with the um, digital audio workstation I use. Um, I'm able to actually go back in and explain how I do things now. So that that began that task that she told me to turn into music, that began the whole creative process for me. And my first ever song that I wrote was called Snow. So, and I actually still remember it.
That is so awesome. And I like that, I mean, that you vividly remember when exactly that shift happened for you and that yeah, and that a teacher was sort of able to really help you with that. And so, having done this now for a while, that I mean, it's always so enlightening to hear that that people within their education that I mean that it truly does help make a difference within their lives.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I mean, music is 100%, I feel like, a perfect escape, especially from a rough day, or I mean, because academics are extremely rigorous sometimes, right? Where it's important, where it's extremely important where we have hobbies that we can kind of turn to, or things that we can kind of turn to, people we can turn to, right? To kind of just relay or let off this stress. And that's part of the things, I mean, that's part of the things I push on my list page, right? Because mindset is key into pushing everything. We don't want to burn ourselves out. Um, and even when we do, it's always possible to come back. But yeah, just the mindset abilities of kind of just resetting yourself during all that stress. I mean, it's key.
Yeah, it really is. And so, with you mentioning that mindset is key, is that sort of like a little bit of your, I guess, philosophy behind a lot of the stuff that you do?
Yes. So I wouldn't I wouldn't call it my philosophy, because I'm faith based, so I'm Catholic. I'm heavily Catholic, and a lot of my stuff that I do, um, is devoted to him up above. But the lifts page, I really try to, incorporate a little bit of that as well. But I really try to incorporate general philosophies, right? So the philosophy or the kind of mindset of resetting, the mindset of keep moving forward, and the mindset of really, I mean, not a lot of the world understands it, but the mindset of accepting failures, right? Because a lot of people nowadays, right, failure when it happens, especially true failure, right? When someone gets knocked down so hard, it destroys them. They allow it to destroy them. They allow it to kind of turn them into something else. They call it, I guess they call it like the villain arc, right? Note to self, skip that villain arc. It's important though, when you're going through those moments, to understand it, right? Go through it, go through the pain, go through the grieving and stuff like that. But always remember, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Always. No matter how dark the tunnel gets, or even if the door's shut at the end of the tunnel, right? Because the door can always open. Um, but all these things that go together with a mindset, right?
Yeah, so for you in personal training, so I know that is also a major part of your life alongside your music career. And so are you able to tell us a little bit about that? Like what even got you started with that?
Well, for personal training, um, I've been in the gym for a year and a half now. I started working out on my own, really. Towards the end of, well, it really began in COVID, right? With my dad and my brother in the garage. We were shut down. We had to stay active. Sports were canceled because I was a big soccer player, tennis player, um, and we really started there. But when COVID ended, junior year, I started to really get into working out by myself. And actually, the first person that taught me a lot of my form, taught me a lot of stuff, was actually Riley Douglas. Shout out to Doug, man. I mean, thank you for all of this, you know. But it built from there. I met a lot of people, and I eventually went over to ODU. And it was orientation, right? There was a group session that was optional that I attended, on the Rec Sports Center, the job hiring opportunities as well, and they talked about a personal trainer. And I walked up to the guy after the meeting, and I said, "Hey, I'm really interested in this opportunity. How do I get it?" Right? And he was like, "Well, for students, there's a lot you have to do. Right? There's a lot. First, you have to get certification. You have to get CPR certified, AD certified. You have to go through all of this form stuff before we can even acknowledge you." Right? And I was like, "Okay." They gave me their email, or he gave me his email, which directed me to the director's email, who told me that I had to pass 2 exams of 200 questions for certification. So last semester, on top of my classes and stuff like that, I'd be on campus, after classes, studying for these, like studying anatomy, studying, physiology, and studying the sort of, kinesiology, movement in the body, as well as the stuff I knew in the gym. I had to actually familiarize myself with the actual academic, scientific way of, learning it and seeing it. So as a freshman, this was a difficult task, alongside music and, commuting and all this other stuff. But I did it. I ended up, there were 40 people in the exam room trying to pass this exam. Towards the end of the semester, 12 people got accepted. And I was the only freshman. I was the only freshman for the personal training. Thank you. But for the personal training position. and they took this. I got to learn a lot from it. And the clients that I have now, they're working so great. I'm so proud of each and every one of you, by the way, if you were to listen to this. But y'all are moving and we are crushing goals. So, let's keep at it. And, this is the mindset, the joy that I have, that I hope to bring, to the future now, or to what's happening now, and what I hope to bring to my future career. So personal training, I mean, it's definitely the best opportunity that's come this year so far.
That is so cool. And like I said, congratulations again on, yeah, on officially being certified.
Thank you.
And so, and so even though that how long have you been certified as of recording this, I guess?
Just 4 months. I got it back. Actually, it may not even be the November, right? Some November. Yeah, it's not even. It's 2 months. Like, not even 2 months even. So, yeah, I'm basically newly certified. However, I've been studying since the summer. I got CPR certified in November as well. And we moved from there. So
Yeah, that is great. And yeah, and so how does it feel being the only freshman that was able to be certified in that round?
well, it definitely, it felt good, especially since the exam was hard. I was walking out of that exam room with sweats. I will not lie, but getting the email back, I definitely felt accomplished, and I felt like, all right, this is where I'm supposed to be, right? This is this route, this career that I'm following, this plan that I'm following. I'm pretty sure, with each affirmation, it is following well. So cool. So, but yeah, walking out of that exam room, I definitely had the sweats. But really feeling, getting that email, it really, it solidified within me that my plan was right and stuff like that. Like this career that I'm following, the major that I'm following, I'm on the right path for me. Everything's looking up, everything I can see in the future, right? I can see how I can make this better. I can see where I can follow. And I can see myself just ultimately prospering or growing into and learning and stuff like that. So, um, I wouldn't say, I was proud because I was the only freshman. I don't really look at it now. I was just proud to, really pass the exam, and have the job, opportunity that I have now, and really be working within the program itself, right? Because it's such a great program. It's so great to have on my resume as well.
Well, I'm so glad that it's working out for you so far, it seems. And I guess what has been your favorite part so far of being a part of this program?
The team building and just meeting people, right? Because a lot of people that come to get personal trained are really, looking for motivation, right? They're looking for motivation, but they're not entirely motivated from it, right? So they're really kind of, I guess you could say, shy and, inexperienced in the whole field. And that's where, I mean, this energy that we have as personal trainers, we can bring that to the table and they instantly fall in love with it, right? We try to get them comfortable with, being healthy, being active, because it's so important. It's so important. And too many people in the world nowadays, I mean, especially during these times, don't do a lot of physical activity. It's very important to just stay healthy, stay active. And if you're in high school, if you're in eighth grade right now, looking for something to do in high school, that freshman year, that freshman summer, make sure you join one of those summer camps. It'll be the best thing that you'll do. You'll meet a ton of people. It'll be hard work, but at least you'll all be suffering together, right? That's how we used to say it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned too that even prior to to this part of your journey, that you did soccer and tennis for years. And so how long did you do that prior to, I guess, the COVID-19 pandemic sort of changing the your ability to do that at that moment?
Well, yeah. Um, Soccer I have been doing since kindergarten. So however old I was when I was doing that. I did that all the way through St. Gregory's. I did that through St. Matt's and into high school. And I was JV freshman and sophomore year. But at the end of sophomore year, I was invited to the varsity tournament, and I got to participate and actually play in one of the games. I was actually shocked because I got playing time. It was probably because of the fact we were losing, but that's okay. But junior year, that was when COVID, or the end of sophomore year, that was when COVID began. And towards the end of junior year, they had a season in the winter that we had to go through, right? I was on varsity that season, but that season was one of the hardest seasons I've ever been through because we were playing in like extremely cold temperatures, outside, outdoors, in rain even. So like it would rain and it would just feel like ice. I hated it. Um, but it set up the mindset for senior year where ultimately I got to play aside my brother and my cousin as defenders, and that, I mean, I won't ever forget that season, that senior season. Was one of the best seasons for me personally. Maybe not for the team, but for me personally, that was one of the best seasons I've ever had. And shout out to the whole soccer team because we were dogs, man. We just went at it for every game. We had fun. And even, we had rough games, but we always fight. We always fought. We ended up keeping close to, I think, the number 2 in the state, or Richmond Collegiate, in the beginning of the season, and we really, really battled that one out. I remember that game. Um, but yeah, shout out to the whole soccer team. I know half of them are at college now for sports, so I'm hoping you're doing all well. And I mean, I can't wait to see the progress that they're all making. So, I mean, and that's another thing, right? Seeing these people, I mean, that in high school, do a bunch of other things, right? And they come back, and I don't know, for some reason, it's just so happy. It makes me so happy to see that people are just doing well for themselves and super energetic about what they're doing. It's a whole nother feeling, right? It's cool.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, even like being able to do this on this platform. I mean, hearing what so many people are doing. Some people I had met years ago. Some people I'm meeting for the first time. But being able to see everything they're doing, it's like, wow! Like, how did you manage to do that? And everything. And it's really amazing what people can do when they really put their mind to it.
100%, 100%. It's so cool.
So since you mentioned your studies a couple times, I know you mentioned that yeah, the one of the main reasons why you went to Old Dominion is because you really liked their program. And so, was there any other contenders you had in mind prior to accepting, or did you know this is where I want to go?
Yes, so there's a whole story behind this. But the 2 other contenders were JMU and CNU. And I was originally going to go to CNU, right? That was the plan. And the plan was to study, the pre-med there, and eventually move into the ODU physical therapy department. However, and that was simply because I don't know, I wanted the college experience of kind of, going away from home because I've lived here all my life, right? Here in Virginia or Virginia Beach, we do the same thing all the time. So, I mean, I wanted to see, even if it's CNU, right? Because CNU isn't that far. But I definitely wanted a change of scenery. But what happened last year was one of the hardest years of my life. I had to undergo unexpected heart surgery, and um, it was for something called SVT. So what it is, it's kind of like I don't know, an electrical malfunction or one in the nerves that kickstarts your heart a little bit. So it's palpitation, right? Luckily, thank God they told me it wouldn't kill me, but I wasn't able to do sports as I could. So tennis season last year was the hardest season for me. I was ready for it. I was the ranked number 2 on the team, and I couldn't play, right? So, and every time I tried to, I would go and experience these palpitations. I felt really uncomfortable, and I ended up having to get surgery for that. But that surgery, along with other things that happened around that time during that surgery, it changed me, right? Because it shut down a lot of what I was able to do. I couldn't really lift. I couldn't play sports. Couldn't. I tried to be active, right? And it wouldn't have let me be active. Um, And for the first time, I really felt like I had hit. I couldn't do anything, right? Because I was always on this come up. I had this beast mode mentality, right? Where I was just like, okay, invincible. Even through soccer, I would just throw myself into people and, like, as a defender, being strong and being aggressive defender is key, right? Um, but for the first time, I actually felt like, I was shut down, and it hurt. Coming back from that surgery was one of the hardest things I could do, um, because 17 days later, I found out that, it wasn't a complete surgery. I may have to go back for another surgery sometime this year. However, this is something I still battle with, right? So personal training and lifting, I lift 5 times a week, rest 2 times, and I'm personal training on campus. I'm I'm gonna pause real quick just because I don't know what to say here. I want to word this right. I'm definitely really focusing on, this mindset that we talked about earlier. For me, it's working through something, or it's working through that past trauma that I had, from it, because it sucked. But just seeing myself from, like, now, to even, like, up until, like, the end of last year, or May last school semester, you know I will say that I'm very proud of myself. I'm very proud of what I'm able to accomplish, and how far I've gotten. So, thank you to all the doctors that, without them, man, like, without their reassurance, it's hard to get through a situation like this, right? And luckily, my situation wasn't terrible. It was impossible to kill me, at this age. So it's just, yeah, it was a rough year last year. Sum it up, it was a rough year, and I was able to push through it, and here I am now, just making enjoyment out of everything I do, lifting, music, school, and I'm pursuing a career in, I really love and stuff like that. So it'll be great. Jeez, I cannot stop voice cracking. I'm just gonna say that. I don't know what it is.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for willing to share your story,
Yeah.
and with me, and for those listening. Because like I said, being able to hear what you had to say, is really meaningful. Because I know there were a lot of challenges, and first of all, right now, like, are you feeling a bit better from that? I know you
Oh,
still deal with.
100%, 100%, 100%, right? I still, episodes will happen every now and then, right? Not as frequent as they were before the surgery. However, you know, I've built up a mindset that I'm able to get through it, and I'm able to just kind of shrug it off, right? Treat it as a nuisance, as the doctors would tell me, because now it truly is what they've done. I won't get into, like, all that stuff just because I'm not, the doctor here. But mentality wise, mindset wise, I'm 100% like strong in this area. And I have God to thank for that, and I have, my high school to thank for that. I have my friends to thank for that. I have my family to thank for that. So, um, just being able to have people, during that time to really help you, pick yourself back up, pick your feet back up. They get you up, but in the end, you're the one that's walking, right? So you have to really set that path in front of you, see it, understand it, and be like, all right, I'm gonna start walking. And so far, I've walked to a lot of miles so far. So, and we are going to keep walking. And I can't wait to see what the future holds.
I love that.
Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, and so like I said before, I'm just very thankful that you were willing to share that, and that despite all the obstacles, that you still work to try to do something that you love, that you were passionate about. It's like, it may not have been the original goal or intention that you were trying to aim for, but that you still worked to try to make it where you were able to do what you loved, and whatever way, shape, or form that may take.
Yeah. So that you put it in the best way possible, just because, I had my mindset, senior year of high school, right? I was going to go to either JMU, CNU. I wanted to go to the JMU for the longest time, right? Or CNU for the longest time. And, you know, having to make the decision to stay home, kind of accept, all right, I told myself, we're going to do this and we're going to make something out of it, right? I've lived here all my life. We're going to make the most out of what we have. And it was the best decision I've ever made. I still can talk to some of my old high school friends that are still at high school. And actually, shout out to all of them because I'm DJing for them in a couple weeks for a dance. So that will be fun. Um, and, by the time this video comes out, I may have already DJ'd. But just, if anyone's out there that's really struggling to what you want to do, right? That question we ask ourselves so many times over and over again, especially in high school, in that junior to senior period, because I did it. Don't worry, I did it. Those of you that don't know what you want to do, it's perfectly okay. I had no idea what I wanted to do until I set foot on campus at ODU, right? And that should tell you something. Like, you can make the most wherever you go to college, even if it's at home, if it's away. When you set foot onto that campus, when you set foot into your dorm or your first class, have the energy, take it, right? Take the opportunity that you're on this journey, right? It's you. See how far you can go, because 100% of the time you can go above and beyond, and it's, I always get the question, right, on my page. They're like, what got you here, right? And I'm going to be honest, I had no idea what got me here. It was, I just kept strong in my faith. I just kept going, right? And whatever popped up, whatever situation popped up, we took care of the situation. We got through it and we reset, right? And remember, we're bringing back to that, the mindset of just resetting yourself. When you reset yourself, we reset ourselves with a goal and a plan. Those are the two most important things, right? That plan is going to help drive you, right? It's going to help organize the drive. But that goal is initially going to motivate you, right? So you're going to move with the goal in mind on your plan. So for anyone, anyone junior, senior year of high school who doesn't know what they want to do, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Gather an idea, but you're gonna make it yourself, strong in college. So I mean, it's gonna work out for you, 100%. It's what happened to me. So I went to ODU, and here I am now. I know what I want to do, 100%.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, that you were able to have that experience, and so now that you're in your second semester, how are you enjoying things thus far?
Second semester is fun just because now I have my job, right? So I'm meeting a lot of people. I'll say the first semester for commuting was a little hard to meet people. I was still able to meet people though. I got these great group of friends that we're actually going to go play football with later before the Eagles game on campus. And second semester, it's definitely been better socially for me because now I'm meeting people, talking to people, making new friends. I can go to events now. Academically wise, I'm crushing it. I'll say that. Plan to keep on crushing it. And yeah, I mean, I now have a strict schedule, right? I go to class in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I pack my classes all together, 4 of them, in a span from 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock, right? I finish, eat lunch with some friends, come home, do music for like 3 hours, or relax for 3 hours. Because sometimes creatively I'm not there for music, and it's important for me to not force it. So I'll either rest or get some other homework done, and then I'll go back and to work, and I'll come home, either chill at the gym with some of my friends who follow me on my page, and help them out through workouts, and then I'll come home, and that will kind of be my day for Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Tuesday and Thursday, I set up as kind of like a wild card. So I don't have anything that's Tuesday, Thursday, but I plan on working more during the second semester. Those are kind of scheduled work days now that I'm trying to focus on. So
I'm glad that you were able to sort of figure out your scheduling going into the second semester, and I like how even though like some parts are very planned, that you have those days where they're just wild cards where you're sort of able to make the most of those days. And so I like that nice mixture in there because it really it's like not every day is going to necessarily be perfect, but it's like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, not every day, I mean, can be 100%. You know, you gotta have those days where you just come back and like, okay, almost like preparation for the next day. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely have felt that. And so yeah, overall, like I said before, I've just so enjoyed this conversation thus far, and I'm just so appreciative that you were willing to come on here, make time out of your schedule, and I mean, it really means a lot.
Oh, yes. Well, I mean, I'm very appreciative of you even inviting me. You know, thank you so much, Brandon. Thank you to the audience, you know, for listening. And I mean, yeah, this has just been such a great experience. So thank you.
Oh, yeah, of course, and you are always welcome here on the platform.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. One more thing, you know, before we go, I wanted to say this. You can edit this in, but oh my gosh, I had it written down. Hold up. Oh, that's right. That's right. So, you know, I want to end this in saying, you know, continuing on the conversation of, you know, not really knowing where you want to be or something like that, or really worrying that you don't know, because you see other people around you, you know, knowing what they want to do and following that. You know, to remind yourself to not stress over that. Remember, you are your own self. Okay, you start your goal, but it's important, you know, patience and content with who you are right now is key for exploring and really growing as a person in the future, right? Because you want to be at a point where you can guarantee that you've surpassed your previous you know the past version of yourself, right? In a year from listening this, right? You're going to go back and say, "Wow, you're going to see everything that you've done, you're going to see everything that you've accomplished, and you're going to really put it together just for that 1 year, right? And you're going to say, "Man, you know, that was me a year ago." And then at that time, right, you're gonna say, "Man, what am I gonna look like in a year?" And then the cycle continues, right? The cycle continues, right? Even if you know it was actually Doug that told me, right? One day at a time, one day at a time. Even if it's not a year, it's one day, right? Be better than yourself yesterday, right? And then in the week, be better than last week's self. You know, if you have an exam week, right, or test weeks, quiz weeks, stuff like that. You know, if you're struggling in the academics, right? You know, let's put forward, you know, work yourself up so that you're better than next week, right? If we're in the gym, right? Gym's not going to happen overnight. Gym's not going to happen overnight, but we say that one day at a time, right? To gain consistency, dedication, motivation. Um, and, you know, for those who are really struggling with that, you know, consistency, you know, ask yourself, do you have the mindset? Do you have the mindset to handle it? Because I mean, you of course have the physical abilities, right? But do you have the mental abilities? And that is what I want to pursue in my career because I want to open up a business in physical therapy once I'm out of graduate school. Um, you know, somewhere down the line, because me personally, I think physical strength and mental strength have to go together. They can't be separated. You know, they have to go together because I feel like you know you can't be physically strong if you're mentally struggling, right? So you know these things just kind of really go together for me, and that's going to be definitely one thing I pursue. Thing.
I absolutely love that. Like I said before, I've just really appreciated everything that you have said thus far. I mean, from starting the piano at age 4, going through your music making career, also getting into physical therapy. You're now certified, and and everything in between.
Or personal training. We're getting into physical therapy later. Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, yes, yes, that's what I meant. Yeah, so certified as a personal trainer, getting into physical therapy, and doing a little bit of everything in between. I've just so enjoyed like being able to hear what you have to say. And we just can't describe how thankful I am to be here.
Oh man, well I'm thankful. I'm thankful for to be here. Brandon reached out to me and asked me to come on the podcast, and I really took the opportunity because I loved this conversation. And hopefully I get invited back and we can maybe do another conversation or in a year's time, like we were talking about, and just seeing how far we've come, and I think that would be really awesome. So thank you so much to the audience. Thank you, Brandon. And yeah.
Yeah, and before I let you go, though, I did want to allow a moment for you to go ahead and tell everyone who's watching anywhere that they can continue following your story online, because I know you have some pretty amazing social media content out there.
Oh man, well, you can go ahead and follow me, Vortec_lifts, real.vortec.music or real.vortecmusic, because the old music account got hacked, unfortunately. And we are trying to, maybe Brandon can put something in this. We are trying to report that account, vortec.music. I'll put specifications later. But definitely go follow the real.vortecmusic account. And this will be posted, somewhere in this video. And then also, if you have a TikTok, if you don't like Instagram, follow me on TikTok. It's the same name. And yeah, hopefully maybe in a year we'll see a YouTube channel. Hopefully, maybe. Who knows? Maybe some instructional video and some music stuff. But yeah, that's where you can reach out to me. Feel free to DM me if you're interested in personal training, or any programs, any questions, any mentality questions. I'm always there for you. And again, thank you so much for listening.
That is great to hear. And like I said, Isaac, this has been such a fun conversation, and I can't wait for us to, like you said, I liked your idea, catch up in a couple months to a year, and yeah, but definitely keep me in touch along the way, though.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for those of you watching or listening, thank you all so much for tuning into today's conversation. I've just so enjoyed this, and I hope you all have taken just as much out of this as I have, because this has been such a great conversation. But have an amazing day, everyone. Let's make things happen, and I'll see y'all later.
That's right. Take care, everyone.
If you're interested in checking out Isaac's social media pages, be sure to stick around to the end of this episode. But, of course, be sure to subscribe to the Tansson Talks podcast. And a big thank you goes out to our sponsor, Podpage. If you're interested in enhancing your podcast experience, check them out with the affiliate link. Now for the preview.